Hello everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have a review of The Flash, the Season 7 premiere episode titled All's Wells That Ends Wells. Now there will be spoiler in this review, so I advise you now, if you haven't yet caught up with all the events that happened previously within Season 6, then maybe you want to check out quickly, catch up with all the events and then come back to this review. You can also catch up with other reviews of The Flash within this channel, and I will leave links within the description and also within the end title of this video as well. So we recap quickly. We pick up from the last season's events when, if you remember, Barry was trying to regain his speed force, which was rapidly running out. Eva McCulloch had managed to break free of the mirror universe that she was trapped throughout the last end of season 6 along with Iris. She announced her presence to the media, having killed her husband, and she was now wanting to take over completely the McCulloch Industries. We had some members of Team Flash who had also managed to disappear in the Mirrorverse. We had long-term departures, it seems, from both Caitlin and Cisco, and also Iris had disappeared, vanishing from the screen. If you remember, that was the final scene from the 6th season, and we were all wondering where she had disappeared to. Now, one thing to remember when reviewing this episode is that The Flash, along with most of the CWs, had their previous seasons shortened due to the COVID outbreak, so normally they have around 22 episodes for each of their seasons, but The Flash was obviously shortened to 20 episodes. So really, I think what we're going to see, certainly from the first 2 to 3 episodes, rather than being the actual beginning of 7th season, this will actually be the concluding part of the 6th season. I think that's something to bear in mind when we are watching these shows. So I think it will be a bit disorientating to begin with, but once we conclude this Mirror Universe arc and we begin with the new stories within the 7th season, then I think this season overall will become far more clear and far more focused. So begin with the episode, and we see that Chester is working on regaining the speed force for Barry, and we get a very cool opening sequence where Barry is continuing his pursuit of Eva, where we see him running up and down buildings and leaping over, and the effects I thought were really cool on here. As he comes across Eva, she manages to get the upper hand on him, and we had some very cool effects shots where she's leaping across certain buildings. She's able to manipulate surfaces and turn them into the kind of mirror surfaces, so she's able to transfer herself through those. She manages to get the upper hand on Barry, and we see later on that she's got her group of McCulloch troops, if you like, helping her, and she intends to take out the remaining parts of the Black Hole organization that was established throughout the 6th season. And we see later on that we see the returning of the villains Mirror Master and Top. Now, to be honest, I've never liked the versions or the interpretations of these characters. We all know, if you are into The Flash, from whether it's the comic books or the animation, that both Mirror Master and Top are two of his famous rogue villains, and I've never liked the versions that they've given us within the show. I think they're very weak and very indescript overall. So Eva takes out the Mirror Master, who she reveals was one of her first creations, and obviously the Top, who was in a relationship with the Mirror Master, is very emotionally distressed after seeing her longtime partner be disintegrated like that. We later on continue with Wells, and we see he's seeing multiple versions of himself again. This is due to a remnant of the crisis, and somehow he's got these multiverse particles, which has resulted in him having these visions of himself. They did allude to this at the end of season 6, where he saw one version, but now he's able to see multiple versions of himself. Now, I've never been a fan of this. I understand that Tom Cavanagh is a very extroverted actor, and he probably enjoys playing these multiple versions of Wells, but I've just never liked it. I've always liked when we get one single focus Wells. Of course, we had the best version in season 1 when he was Eobard Thawne, of course, but I did like as well the other version where I think he was the father of Jesse. That was the other Wells that I think was the most consistent, and I found to be the most compelling and interesting overall. So I just thought, now we've had this for multiple seasons throughout The Flash, where we see multiple versions of Wells, and I just think it's grown a bit tired now. It's just not interesting, it's not funny, it's not entertaining for me, and I think it's a gimmick that's worn well past its welcome. So we carry on here, and later on we had a particularly intense scene where we catch up with Iris and we see once again that she's trapped within the mirror universe, and she later on catches up once again with her evil doppelganger, and we see the kind of internal struggle between the two. Yeah, it was a bit repetitive, I think, of the same beats that we saw from the end of season 6, so it will be interesting to see as we reach the conclusion of this mirror arc how exactly will Iris break free and locate herself again with the others. We then had, for me, what was a very strange scene where we see Barry once again attempting to regain his speed force. He gets knocked out, but then he wakes up, and all of a sudden I think he adopts the same multiple personalities as well. So we see him speaking in French, and he's wearing the glasses as well. This scene didn't really work for me. I think tonally it was a bit out of touch with the rest of the episode. The humour just didn't work for me. I didn't really feel the need for why they did it this way. It's just a bit jarring. It just really took me out of the certain pace of the storytelling. But it was a one particular scene. It didn't really do too much damage to the episode as a whole. We then caught up with Cecile, who was interrogating Top, and as we all know, Cecile has empathic powers where she can read the minds of people, and she was struggling at first to read the Top and find out what was going on with her and the Black Hole organization. But eventually Cecile breaks through and she finds out that there is a plane departing over the city with the remaining McCulloch technology, and apparently it's got an explosive device and it's about to explode. So now there's a big rush in order to try and get Barry to regain his speed quickly in order for him to help and stop the McCulloch jet, which is flying over the city. So then we go over again, and then we find out that Wells has established that he is the human receptor that is the key to enabling the device in order to regain Barry's speed. Now, there was much more in terms of the scientific explanation, but that's basically the basic gist of what was going on. You know, this is something that the show has always done, where they try to give clear scientific explanations as the technology and the methods that they're using, but everything is being told at such a quick pace, you just kind of gloss over it. But essentially, Wells was the human element that was required to help Barry regain his speed, and we get a very emotional moment, of course, because obviously this means that Wells has to give up his life. He came to this realization earlier on with the episode, but he was scared. He didn't want to give up his life at this particular point and time. So yes, we get a very, I suppose, very well acted scene when Wells is disintegrating into the device, and we see Barry running along Star Labs, and again, very cool effects as we see the yellow electricity surrounding Barry and he's regaining his speed effects. And another cool sequence where we see him running along the city very super fast, running along buildings. He jumps across the building and he manages to go onto the jet, and he disengages the explosive device and lifts it up to the sky, and it eventually explodes. And then of course we go back to again where we see the seemingly now permanently death of this version of Harrison Wells. Now again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this was obviously something that was clearly the end of season 6, as I mentioned. So again, I don't think they would open a season 7 which having such a major character depth as what we had with this Harrison Wells. So again, this is just one of the adjustments we're going to have to make for the first couple of episodes. And then we get the end credit scene at the end where we find out in a pretty shocking revelation that Eva actually died. In the beginning of the story, if you remember, what sparked all of these events was that Eva had managed to somehow get sucked into the Mirrorverse following the effects of the partial accelerator, of course, from the beginning of the show. And it was indicated that she had somehow been trapped in this dimension. Well, actually, when Eva looks over the footage, it finds out now that she actually died. If you look at the sequence, when she's repelled into the mirror, the impact of that repellment meant that she actually died from this. So it wasn't a case of she was left stranded in this Mirrorverse and then her husband just went about his business. She actually died from this. So the Eva we are looking at now isn't really her. Maybe it's a clone, another doppelganger, maybe it's another version from some sort of parallel universe or remnant of the mirror universe. I guess we will find that out in the next couple of episodes. So that was another interesting angle. So we will wait and see what develops from that in the future. So I think overall this was a decent to very entertaining episode of The Flash. It had that brisk, bright, entertaining tone. I think that's reminiscent certainly from the earlier seasons. Good action sequences, good effects, very harmless fun, nothing too convoluted or complicated overall. There were multiple arcs carried on throughout this episode, and I still feel, for what I've said from my previous series, that there are too many characters on Team Flash. I think there's too many people involved, and sometimes you can have all of these multiple story arcs. Some work, some doesn't, and I think it can make the episodes feel very inconsistent in terms of their tone and storytelling. And I think there were elements of that happened also without this episode on here. So it will remain what will happen when Caitlin and Cisco eventually return. Will that make redundant the use of Allegra and Chester? I think there does definitely need to be a trimming down of the Team Flash. I think there's too many people who all know Barry's identity, and yes, I would look to see a stripping down in terms of the heroes within this show. I'm pretty sure we will see Tom Cavanagh come back in some capacity, whether it will be another version of Wells. I'm pretty sure that's what will happen as well. And of course, we have got the ongoing question of what will happen to Ralph Digby and Sue as well, because if you remember, the actor who played Ralph Digby, Hartley Sawyer, was fired because of previous tweets that he had put out years ago, and I'd covered that as well. You can check that out on my channel, that particular issue. So I think at the moment they're going undercover, they established before, but I'm pretty sure they'll come back in some capacity. I think Sue is going to be a recurring character throughout this season, so I'm pretty sure we'll get some explanation going on as to what happened between Ralph and Sue as well. But yeah, overall it was brisk, entertaining. I hope that we can continue with this 7th season where we get multiple story arcs of various other villains rather than one big villain dominating the entire season. I think that certainly has hurt the show, particularly in season 4 and definitely in season 5 as well. So hopefully they can continue in that more, if you like, serialized story arc where we get 3-4 chaptered storylines, a bit similar to what we see with Black Lightning and also what we had in Gotham as well when that was airing as well. I think that will benefit the Flash as well. It will keep it fresh and will keep it invigorating and interesting as well. So overall, those are my thoughts and main feelings really on this premiere episode of The Flash. Very good, very entertaining, good effects, and yes, enough there I think to keep me invested for what will go on later on without the 7th season. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Were you impressed by this season? Are you still invested in the show after 7 seasons? It has been renewed for a season 8, of course, so we will still have plenty of adventures with Barry Allen and Team Flash to go ahead for the next couple of years as well. So do you think it's outstayed its welcome, or do you feel there's still much more mileage to go? How do you think this compares to the other shows that we've seen recently? Of course, Superman and Lois, Black Lightning, and of course Batwoman as well. Just let me know what you think within the comments below. And as of all these other shows, I will do any reviews of any standout episodes that I feel throughout the season, and of course I will review the finale episode and also do a season overall review as well. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the Flash premiere episode season 7. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please hit and like those subscribe buttons and notifications to help me provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.